best of 5. Rather tense. We're going to have to see who comes out on top.
I'm right there with you. Even though IG did not have the greatest run in playoffs, they are still a very excellent team with very excellent players. We're into the picks and the bans. And immediately, Orianna going to be taken away for Rookie. He's not going to see one of his most iconic champions all series long.
No, he will not, but Rookie has been very good this year on enablers. I've really liked his play on Ryze and Talia. I think notably Talia is up. Poor matchup into the Orianna. But we'll see if Rookie wants to maybe take a play at it. He's been willing to play this matchup all year, so gonna have to see if that is what he wants. What we have learned of what IG wants. Gonna take that Rumble for themselves in the top side. Gotta say, Galio is banned. That's nice for Rumble, but really opening yourself up to a potential Aurora top. Not something we're used to seeing from 369, but I think Aurora champion that for me, whenever I see Rumble, rockets up in priority a little bit.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That is a, it's just really, really good into this Rumble, right? And, you know, Rumble, a lot of his tank matchups got a little bit worse with the nerfs that he got, but he's still very much passable in those. Ryze going to come through for Rookie here, so that realm warp position is going to be all important, especially with the way we've seen IG in some fights get a little bit disconnected. Meanwhile, top esports, immediate lock-ins coming in for Kai'Sa, coming in for Nico. Again, that's an iconic champion taken away from IG. Gala's not getting his Kai'Sa.
I think big pick here for IG. Is it going to be a Karma or a Rel from Meiko? I think those are two of the better picks against Nico. And if that is the case, I don't like the Karma here because you can't pair it with an Ezreal. You aren't really buffing up someone big. Looks like they might just sign up to take the Alistar. He is that Primo support. Maybe you throw out a Sylas ban at Kanavi too, given that he's played in the jungle. But you're already looking at so much magic damage. You may not even be worried about that between the Orianna, the Kai'Sa, and the Nico showing. Like, if it is Sylas, you can just go full magic resist and feel pretty good about that as a team potentially. And sacrifice fact, you are giving away a Rumble ult and an Alistar ult, which is a Sylas eaten good. So I think that's a champion that IG has to be aware of in the next phase, as they're going to take away some of the counters and answers to a Rumble. Ornn going to get taken away, and if you're going to ban Ornn, you're probably going to ban Sion as well here for IG on that side.
And if they do ban the Sion, what do you think we're seeing in the top lane for 369? Because, you know, once again, that Aurora is still open, but again, you'd be very heavily slated toward magic damage, as you like just mentioned about the Sylas.
Yeah.
Xante does seem like it'd be pretty good, especially because you get to take one of these really powerful champions that IG's showing and just immediately rip them out of a fight. And you take a look at what top esports has, I'd say, yeah, they'd immediately win a fight off that.
Yeah. I gotta mention too that TheShy, you know, for anyone that hasn't followed the LPL this split, TheShy's been a really good tank player. And I know that's not what we're used to hearing from TheShy, but usually we're used to, you know, the Renekton's being played superbly, some of the early game brawlers, but he's really embraced the tanks and has added his mechanics to those roles. I mean, I think mechanics are very important on tanks. You just have to repeat your play pattern constantly on a tank, right? It's not as impactful, but you get more opportunities to repeat the play pattern. And TheShy has really taken advantage of that, actually. I think he's really emerged as a good tank player, really superb Ornn. So those bans, in a way, also kind of protect his pool moving forward. I think Ornn for IG is a really big pick, as TheShy is one of, if not the best Ornns in the world. So, yeah, kind of interesting to see that taken here, as now we have the Xayah taken. Rakan hasn't been contested, and they're going to split up that duo now for the rest of the series, which I find interesting as well.
Pantheon making it very late. There's that K'Sante that you talked about. So all of a sudden, we've got some global presence coming out from top esports, and now the ball is in Wei's court. Out of all of the players that you see on your screen for IG, they're going to give that last pick for Wei. Poppy has been one of his preferred champions. He's been excellent on it throughout the year. We'll see if they opt into it.
I'm fine with it. I think it adds some defense. You get some decent value from that steadfast presence. You can play somewhat defensively into that Pantheon, and definitely have to... It's another champion that Kai'Sa has to be aware of in terms of tracking cooldowns. Because if you go in too early as Kai'Sa, opportunity to get, you know, knocked up with the Keeper's Verdict, wall bangs, threats of Qs, right? So just something for JackeyLove to be aware of. But man, I gotta say that I think that IG has a little bit of defense for the Pop Blossom. I'm more concerned about this early game because the ability for Pantheon to try and get active on the map, and then the prio that you're going to get from Kai'Sa Nico, just given the Nico into the Xayah Alistar, that's going to be kind of offset the Xayah being favored in the Kai'Sa early on. Nico being so favored in the Alistar early on, I think it's going to create a really good bot lane for JackeyLove and Hong. And And I'm concerned that Kanavi is going to be able to, play with multiple winning lanes and try and start ramping into ways. So I think it's important that on the first clear especially, IG are able to do something with the Poppy. Poppy, so good level 1, level 2. You can actually fight the Pantheon, just given the strength that you have. So I'm really curious to see if IG can manipulate the map, get away that scenario, because if Kanavi gets a standard first 3 camps, opportunity to actually start invading the Poppy and playing aggressively into IGs. So I think the first 3 camps really important that Wei does something.
Let's have a look at the predictions that all of our casters have had and everybody in the Discord. I'm on the 3-1 train for Top Esports. You're on the 3-2 train for IG. Now,
yeah,
do you feel any differently after this first draft?
I gotta say, Yanni, I threw out a fan vote. I think it's a 3-1 Top Esports too. I am looking at the tape. I really want to see IG at Worlds, and I don't think that either of these teams get through T1. So that makes this a very important series for me. I'm really hoping that we get to see Rookie make Worlds for the first time in a long time. But to do so, him and TheShy are going to have to topple JackeyLove as we dive into Game 1.
Either the crowd mics are not picking these up, or people are really not that animated early on, especially for a series like this. I'm going to go with the crowd mics because these guys have to be amped up just like we are, my friend, as both teams are now taking the rift, and Kanavi going to walk in, get this immediate ward down. Rookie and Wei lying in wait. Oh, no ward. We're just going to show up and say hi and throw a couple skill shots.
Why not? We got the trade going. Again, I think it is important that we get a little bit of action from Wei into the Pantheon for the first 2 levels. You let Pantheon get, to 3 and 4. That's when he can start to win the duel against the Poppy. Very, very early on, first couple levels, Wei can do something. I do like the fact that he's starting his bot camps because Hong and JackeyLove are going to have push going into the Alistar. So I do think it's important that he's taking these away because these are the camps that I would have been concerned about in a couple of levels that Kanavi could pressure, but looks like each of our junglers are going to make their way towards the top side.
Yeah, and Kanavi's been a guy that's been so hard to disrupt early on. We haven't really seen teams be able to do that sort of thing, right? And he's able to get off a lot of these early clears, and we all know that after his first clear, he's immediately in team mode, looking around to be able to help out his squad, to get them ahead early. It feels like the only times where he ever gets behind is if, his team kind of mismanages what they're really good at. So
yeah,
we'll see if we run into each other at some point soon.
I mean, I think it's very clear from watching, without knowing the comms, like just looking at Top Esports, it's pretty clear this team runs through Kanavi. In terms of he's the one that's dictating a lot of the plays that the team has taken. I think that Kanavi, a lot of the times, and he takes a lot of positive plays, especially when they are for himself in the jungle matchup. I think at times, him and the rest of Top Esports are definitely victim of maybe taking a play or trying to make something happen that isn't there. So I think that that's a valid backdrop when looking at this team because I think they play early games very well. Top Esports at their best going back to Split 1 was the team that you don't want to give 3 winning lanes in a winning jungle matchup because they will cash that in to the 9th degree. But I think we've also seen them slip up at times in terms of cashing that in. And that at times can be the Achilles heel of this team. That, and what I always say in terms of their mid laner, I think the Top Esports, they go as far as Creme will take them. So Creme going up against Rookie today. Rookie did struggle against Knight and Shanks in the 2 series where IG did fall in the bracket. So I don't rate Creme as highly as those 2 mid laners, but still something to look out for. We'll see if Rookie can topple Creme or if Creme can continue to at least try and step up and put together a good 5-game series because he hasn't been able to do that, and it was part of the reason that Top did fall victim to BLG.
Good shout about Creme. Speaking of, he's going to take the later TP back. This does mean that Wei will be able to secure the top crab, and I'm with you on that. I think that, if Creme plays to his baseline level, you'll see the really good Top Esports that, has gone to the final and lost in a close 3-2 series. And, if he's able to take the next step, then, maybe we'll see the Top Esports that will be able to compete internationally, that will be able to show up and make a deep run or even go further than that. And it's all up to him, and it starts now, especially against a guy like Rookie who's been around for a very long time, a guy who at times has been very abusable in game, in lane. See if he's able to get the job done.
Yeah, and Creme, he's got the counter matchup. Orianna into Rise. Orianna can win out on that 1v1 just with the ball, the zone control. Rise can struggle into that. And Rookie already having to take his second recall. Going to work towards that Catalyst. Of course, he's going to go for the double stacking items. And I like the fact that Creme is not going for the double stacking items early on. It was Roa into Seraphs for his playoff games. That made 0 sense to me. Already has an Amp Tome in the inventory. So we'd like to see that, as we are seeing lane swaps on the Rift. If they try and get the Alistar Xayah out of the winning Kai'Sa and Neeko matchup winning because of the Neeko. And they will swap and get TheShy into the 1v2, who is actually saving his TP. So he's going to lose a little bit of access to golden XP from the wave there, but we'll have a TP up for a grub fight where Rumble is very strong if they keep the lanes for that.
Saw just a moment ago that Meiko came in, interrupted Creme's recall, and he'll have to take the long walk back himself. We have Dragon up on the map. We've got Grubs at about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Cubby, how are you thinking about Grub priority in this particular game? I think that Rookie uses it quite well. I think that 369 could as well.
Yeah, I mean, for IG, I see a Rumble comp, and I like their Grub fight a lot. Now, the good news for top esports is that if they want to fight Grubs, they've got to get their support to level 6. They have a Neeko, Pomp Blossom critical for a fight like that. Hong has gotten a little bit more XP than Meiko, just given the winning matchup and the fact that Meiko was roaming mid. So I think level 6 support race could be very telling in terms of who can fight the Grubs or not, because if one team has 6 in their support and the other doesn't, that could just dictate who gets Grubs or not. But the fact that TheShy has TP, I mean, regardless of how we think this fight might play out in a vacuum, I'll take a 5v4 for IG. I think that gives them a big edge for Grubs so far. We see top esports utilizing their bot lane priority. And the 2v2 we have there to probably start up this dragon and take it for themselves.
Meiko with a little bit of a headbutt there. He'll get tied up, take a little bit of damage himself as Wei and Rookie looking to take control around this mid lane and try to force top esports away from this dragon.
Not a bad stall, honestly, from Meiko. I mean, TheShy's going to delete this wave. It's on the timer where he's going to have Equalizer up for a Grub fight, too. So he's preserved his TP. And we do see IG doing this swap a little bit where you give your AD some solo golden experience. Frankly, I really like this from Kai'Sa. I thought that, you know, if we're going to turn back the clocks a little bit and go to lane swap meta, I thought that TL was the team that actually had Kai'Sa very figured out, because they were religiously putting Yawn in a lane where level 1, level 2, it's D-Blade as Kai'Sa, and Kai'Sa really benefits from the bonus experience because that helps hit your breakpoints. We saw T1 do this the other night against Gen G too, where they just started with an AD topside. I believe the AD was even Kai'Sa. So I do like the fact that IG is playing around with this a little bit, because I think experience on the Xayah could be a big difference maker in this mid game. If Gala is going to find JackeyLove in isolation, he's up 3/4 of level right now, so that's something they can play off of.
JackeyLove and Hong still chilling out in the bot lane. We saw the IG bot lane take some recalls. Gala gonna head back up top as these Grubs are up at about 15 seconds so far. All is quiet, which is something that we really didn't expect, especially with Kanavi getting his first clear off uninterrupted. We saw him hang around a little bit, but not really actually take any actions. But now he's got that Grand Starfall. So the global ability for top esports has been turned on. He's going to use it immediately into the mid lane here. Looking for Rookie. They'll flash on top of him with the shockwave as well. And it's first blood to JackeyLove.
There's no way out of that for Rookie. I think the big thing is that he saved his spell. So there is a chance that Rookie could get back and they can contest the back half of this. But that's a great start to the Grubs for top esports, who utilize that Grand Starfall to get a numbers advantage mid. Now we'll see if they can push this to Grubs as a whole. Meiko does not have 6 yet. Hong does not have 6 yet. We do have Rise TPing in and TheShy walking up as 2 Grubs have already been secured.
It looks like top esports is definitely willing to give up that last one. It'll be 2-1 in favor of top esports. They got their kill on top of it. They got to be feeling pretty good. We're going to see Cassante teleport into the bottom lane. He'll get some alone time there. And TheShy has just been pulled around. He had no TP. Yeah. He had to take the long walk up. He's got to take the long walk back.
I think that's a big part of the story there as to why the Grubs went the way they did, because we were setting up TheShy having a potential TP numbers advantage. They didn't get that. Instead, it was 369, got his TP back, was able to interact with the Grub fight, the fact that he was there, and then TP'd away, whereas you called it TheShy doing a little bit of a cross-country skiing up and down the river. He couldn't exactly find a spot to grab resources, and Oh, it is a dragon for IG. Grubs have definitely been the favored objective by teams now. As look at that, 6 support advantage. Dive coming in.
All right, let's see what you got. Hong looking to move in. Now we're going to see Kanavi hop onto Meiko. Hong trying to get close. He will turn into that cannon, tank it up a little bit, get to clear this wave, and just deny.
They're making way to the cross-country mile, too, in his own jungle. He's got to come up and try and help Rookie get in. Top Esports somewhat, you know, feeling this one out. They already denied the cannon. I think they already kind of got what they came for in a sense. So they're going to back up with a nice little small win against Rookie. And hey, delaying those double scaling items, quite nice for the Orianna that is going for a more damage-oriented build from Creme, which we very much like to see.
Yeah, and I think the worst part of this is it's not just, oh, you got a little advantage on Rookie, right? You know, we didn't talk about it, but we saw it. TheShy went and helped out with that dragon. TheShy spent so much time of the last 2.5 minutes not actually picking up minions, not actually picking up experience, and he's just putting himself behind to try to help out the team without really that much impact.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. I don't think TheShy's been, you know, put together or put behind to, like, criminal margins so far. He does have an interesting build, actually, rushing Lucidity Boots on the Rumble. Gotta say, haven't exactly seen that one, as Meiko doesn't have 6, has to flash out of the damage from the combo. Can't use the Unbreakable to get out of that one himself. So, really feels like Top Esports just off the back of a couple of plays that were positive from Kanavi, Yanni. That's what they built this lead off of.
Yep, that's what they do. He's been so good at it, and now they've gotten kickstarted. It's just a matter of what are you going to do next? We've got a dragon up in 3 minutes. We don't have Herald for another 3.5. I do wonder if we'll see Kanavi show up in one of these side lanes. None of these turrets are down, so a Grand Starfall there would really require IG to be very, very far.
I mean, I think my thing at the moment is Rookie. So when you play this matchup, Ryze and Orianna, it's kind of a game of, like, when do you pick up your Null Magic Mantle, if at all? If you get behind, I think you especially have to grab it, because it's not like you can get to the Roa faster, which is one way to play defense in this matchup. But, of course, if you do pick that up in Mercs, you end up delaying your Roa in the first place. So I think that with Rookie being behind like that right now, that's key. And then we see JackeyLove fresh base with a Kraken Slayer in hand, whereas there's no completion yet for Gala. So that winning bot matchup that Top Esports have also played towards now as we kind of transition closer to the mid-game, it's in good shape. So it feels like some of... No, I don't think we set up from start to finish what to expect from these comps, as Top kind of playing a divey Wombo combo comp, and IG playing something that I think is catered a little bit more towards like Rumble Wombos, you know, and then defense elsewhere. It does feel like Top are just in better position right now, given that Orianna and Kai'Sa, their carries, are positioned better.
Yeah, and, you know, you talk about the Rumble being such an integral part of this comp. You don't have the typical setup, right? It's not like you've got a Jarvan that you're like, oh, yes, we'll put him in the hot pot, right? Or you've got something that keeps a lot of people in place. You know, that's really just like Gala, potentially, or Meiko with a multi-man headbutt. Yeah,
it'd be a big way alt-right Keeper's Verdict. Maybe you get 2, and you can go from there. Rune Prison and Wallbangs can help, but... Yeah, you're right. It's not as traditional. It really is just Meiko that's going to be providing that big boom. Now, I will say, Nico versus Alistar, I think a big part of this matchup is that you can actually play around with redemption advantage. And when you do play out this matchup, I mean, I think Alistar's specialty at support is that given the ultimate, you're pretty much guaranteed to get 2 rotations of spells out in a fight. And if I had to boil down what makes Alistar so OP and dominant, it's that on top of his spells just being super duper good in good hands, right? So you get, you know, guaranteed 2 spell rotations. Now, I think that with Redemption versus a Nico as well, it's really important that that initial burst, that initial wombo that comes out from Top Esports does not overwhelm you as IG. You want to be able to use your Redemption. You want to be able to use the Unbreakable to get that second round of cooldowns out. So I definitely think a gold lead given over to Top Esports like this early on can be dangerous, as that damage coming through is starting to get to the point where I don't know if IG can tank what Top Esports is showing right now with these first side and completions in.
Meiko going to need to have a large impact in this game, especially because you see a Pot Blossom on the other side. But not only that, playing against this former team, a rematch as well of the 23 regional finals in the support role. LNG had Hong and EDG had Meiko. Now 2 completely different teams 2 years later. Let's see which support is the first to make an impact, and it could be Hong. The shockwave on top of it, and they find TheShy. Double teleports coming in, but it's all top esports in this river and for this dragon.
Great find, TheShy. He didn't flash the initial combo CC, and he had no chance to play after that as he was locked down from start to finish, 100-0. Well played by top esports, who again, showing a lot of damage in the inventories right now. So they pick up the dragon as an Ocean Soul is rolled. I'd say, honestly, kind of a role that either team was really hoping for here. Yeah, I don't find this soul to be too impactful in this game, where I think it's going to be really bursty and wombo-y, and it's not like there's a lot of poke on either side. So,
yeah,
interesting one. Yeah.
Not only that, you take a look at the gold difference and how it's almost 3,000 for top esports.
Yeah.
15 minutes in, we might not even get there, Cubby. Top esports is an opportunity to really run away with this game if they win this fight at the Rift Herald. We are seeing recall come in here from Hong, and all right, never mind. He wants to stick around because they see that this Herald has been started up.
I mean, if you want to play the Herald, like, fight it off of a Pop Blossom being on cooldown, right? And Meiko has done a nice job of sneaking his way in here. So it's a good angle. He doesn't know if he's spotted or not. He's trying not to show, but top esports is pretty split. They have chunked Gala a little bit.
All right, Keeper's Verdict going down. It gets Kanavi. They are able to pick up the Heralds. Creme stepping up perhaps a little over aggressively, but not in any real danger. Is a smooth secure there for IG.
But I like the fact that they fought off the Pop Blossom. You can see Pop Blossom coming off cooldown right now. So Hong just got access to that one back. I think that if IG wanted to play the objective, they had to do it while that one was on cooldown. So a good call from them. Again, you know, sometimes when you are behind, you still got to find your windows. Good example if you play fives or, you know, play with any teams at home. IG definitely behind in this game, but that was one cooldown down. They were able to take an objective off of. Big deal. That said, top esports, they weren't going to let that one get away for free. They take the gold on the map in that mid-outer turret first, and that's a big take for them.
And it's given over to JackeyLove, too, who's now 1,500 up on his counterpart, Gala. To the best 80 carries that we have to offer. JackeyLove, of course, winning so many accolades as we see a bit of a fight break out over the top. Coming in Kanavi, so able to take out the Rise. Meiko's going to be next. You can tank up forever, but you can't tank all that damage. 4 kills for top, 4 kills for JackeyLove, your split 3 MVP.
Kind of a poorly placed redemption there by Meiko. He dropped it expecting them to have a 2v1 and walk forward, but it was the Grand Starfall and the Killer Instinct that changed it to the bot side. Is now TheShy. He has to burn the flash on the way out. Unwarranted TheShy moment, but hey, able to sneak out of that one at least with his life. But top esports, I mean, they're farming everything around this. Top out are going to fall to Creme. Bot was under pressure there, as you could see. TheShy loses the flash, so everywhere, top esports finding wins.
And as it turns out, you didn't even need the Rift Herald play to go your way. You can just have stuff like this happen, where 369 is just not afraid to start a 2v1.
I mean, like, that redemption drop, Meiko assumes they're going to walk forward. And it's the Killer Instinct of the Grand Starfall that immediately turns things back into the numbers advantage for top esports. No chance for Rookie to get out of that one, as the poorly placed redemption and the flash with the Killer Instinct following through. Just no escape. So, yeah, I mean, well executed by top esports, but this has been an IG. I mean, one of the questions that we had coming into the day, Yanni, was, you know, was the AL series especially, was that just a bad day or maybe a greater concern for this team that hasn't been able to put it together at the finish? This is not the start that you want from a team that, well, they picked up like 10 kills through 3 games against AL and just got absolutely baptized on the Rift.
Yeah, it was, they got skunked. It was really, really bad. Wei had a particularly poor series against Tarzan. I was, you know, wondering if we'd see the same thing. And while I don't think Kanavi has directly outplayed him, Kanavi has impacted the map more. We haven't seen Wei actually do anything yet on this Poppy pick that he's been so good on. Now, top esports are going to take another outer turret here. They've claimed all 3 of them. They've got a 5,000 gold lead. Now we're going to see them try to make a play onto JackeyLove. They're going to get his flash. Gonna root him down, but here comes Kanavi and a teleport coming in from 369 to try to turn it around. There's no turret for IG. This could be a problem. Hong is gonna hit the Pop Blossom just onto Meiko. And here we go. Kanavi getting to the back line, getting on to Gala. Gala's got to run for the hills. Meiko's going to fall, but Gala can't even survive either. Now they're going to look to sell out for Wei, who's under his tier 2. And that's not going to save you because JackeyLove can push forward. It's top esports domination less than 20 minutes into game 1.
They saw TheShy. 369 has a flash ult if he wants to use it. Not going to be the case.
Nah, he had to sidestep. Okay. He can't live through that. This is brutal, Cubby.
Yeah, I actually really like what Top Esports did there. They, like, Gala and Hong, there's a bit of a game of cat and mouse between going airborne on Xayah and getting away from the Pop Blossom. It wasn't a flash used by Hong to close the gap, even though he had flash available. As you're going to get a replay here, I mean, there's no flash on Rookie, so just barely out of range for locking down JackeyLove at not under turret. And then watch Gala. This game of cat and mouse. The channel coming out from Hong. He blows the ultimate there. Still gets caught by the root. Kanavi lines up a beautiful ult, and the damage that he was able to pack in his kit was enough to just snipe down Gala. I think that play is really opened up by the fact that Hong does get the Xayah going airborne on a Pop Blossom where he didn't use flash. And, that's not a complete biff from Gala. You have to predict the flash. If you get caught by the Pop Blossom, then you're going to get chain CC'd by the barbs as well. But that's a really good play by Hong, who got to save his flash, by the way, now has it for an Otacon fight, where you really want to hit that home run as the Nico. So I really like that play. I thought it was pretty cute from Top and Hong and how Kanavi played around that as they continue to smash this game.
It's another low-value redemption out of Meiko, too. It healed himself, and yeah, if you want to deal a little bit of damage to Top Esports, I don't think that's exactly what you're looking for. We're seeing Dragon on the bottom side here getting taken by Top Esports. As you mentioned, this Otacon available. It's up. They're going to drop Herald in the top side or IG, looking for something, anything, away into this game. Now, mind you, Otacon has been the throw machine. We've seen many a games tossed at it. And if you're IG, you're really hoping that Top Esports elect to make a poor decision to give you a foothold back in this game. But it looks like IG will be the ones to start it.
I'd say starting it is bold, as I think the only way that you get away with this one is if you get the Otacon to shred the other team's resistances and not your own.
Yeah, this is insane. Now, TheShy is in the mid lane waiting to TP in. Here we go. That TP's coming in, 5,000 HP and dropping. Wei gonna channel his ultimate, will be able to knock out Creme. 3-man Pop Blossom, and here comes Kanavi right on top of Gala. He gets knocked up, but he's still chasing after him. Gala forced away with low HP, roots up onto Kanavi. He takes out a chunk of damage, and IG will snag a kill, will walk out
with the Otacon.
Get the Otacon.
That's a good play there from IG. I mean, usually you want to wait for the other team to start Otacon because you want to play with the resistance shred, right? Find a fight with that. But they started it and used the Keeper's Verdict to be like, okay, we're going to bodyguard this, guarantee a numbers advantage at the point of the smite. And because Kanavi committed so hard to Gala on the back half, who he wasn't able to find, by the way, there was no smite to contest the Otacon. So ends up just going over to IG.
Yeah, nice stuff there. We're going to see a shockwave on top of Meiko. Meiko getting run down by Creme and JackeyLove. The damage that comes out from these two carries is just far too much for him to deal with.
Yeah, it was a passive proc for the Kaisa, but that flash in the death as Meiko flashed air at the end there, kind of grim. I mean, Alistar flash, extremely valuable. Just a lot of opportunistic plays that you can make with that summoner spell. For that to be taken away is big. As Top Esports, they did secure... before, that Otacon sequence in the back half, they picked up another Dragon. So you're going to have 3 minutes till the Dragon spawns and a couple minutes till the Baron spawns as IG can knock down a little bit more standing gold. It's still, the gold lead's not good. It's still grim. Scaling-wise, I don't favor IG to outscale this game. I think that they have some scaling elements. If it's going to come from anywhere, it's got to come from the fact that, a long team fight where they can play with a little bit of range could be big for them. And I think taking out Orianna is probably the biggest piece. So the ball, the shockwave, the threat that you can have with Orianna and zone control, I think is the thing that's going to hamper IG the most. Because I got to say, this was a first pick Orianna. And if I'm playing Orianna in a game against Ryze and Xayah as the carries, I'm a very happy camper as Orianna. Like, I think she provides immense threat and zone control against those two champions as a whole. So I think Creme is priority A for IG to take out of these fights. And hey, to be fair, that last fight, he was keeper's verdict away. So no Creme was actually that led to the only win we've really seen from IG so far.
Yeah, and speaking on, the rest of what you're staring down if you're Creme, I mean, I'm not overly afraid of Poppy or Alistar as long as I'm positioning properly, right? And it seems like Creme has done a fairly good job of that so far. On your scaling point, I mean, I'm with you. Like, Ryze, yeah, sure, he's a late-game terror, but, you take a look at how many items this Ryze has and how many items this Kai'Sa has.
Look at JackeyLove, yeah.
Yeah, JackeyLove and Top Esports should not allow the opportunity for Rookie to scale into this game. And, if he does, then it's not going to be clear-cut, but it means that IG will at least have a chance. And so far, they're fighting a little bit better than I thought they were going to after they were going down so far. It's still a 6,000 gold deficit, but it has not gotten worse.
To be fair to IG, I think that with Fearless Draft, it's been kind of hard to see teams like have core identities. I mean, Fearless, essentially, you're drafting down a tier list, or your identity is shown by, hey, maybe we actually like this pick into Azir more than the one that everyone else is playing, right? Or maybe we like Cassante into Rumble more than Ornn, right? It's just the last ways to show your identity. IG, though, as a team, they've really had this identity of being a superb late-game fighting team. I really feel like this team, and like when you get past the 35, 40-minute mark, we have seen IG pull a lot of fights, a lot of moments out of the hat, given the strength of these carries and these players that they have. It kind of has been some of the magic behind this team, and what was a really good run throughout the LPL regular season. Is these are your top two teams, top two seeds that we had in playoffs coming out of the regular season, which I still find pretty crazy.
Yeah, it just goes to show that how well IG were playing, even not getting to those 35-minute marks in games. Now, the problem that we've seen with them lately is that in some of their team fights, they just get real disconnected, right? In these early game team fights, somebody is not where they should be, and it causes a problem. That hasn't even been the problem this game, Cubby. It's just them getting picked off on side lanes multiple times and on the back foot. Now we have Top Esports picking up their third dragon. That puts them on soul point. We got Hong with a double pop blossom. He's stuck in a 1v4, but the rest of the squad's coming to help him out. Shockwave going down. Also, JackeyLove in the back line takes out Gala, but he gets hammered out of the fight. He's going to have to hop back in. Here comes the Ryze Realm Warp coming through. He's on the backside. Meiko on a sliver will fall to Creme. And Top Esports, another dominating fight.
And I just love the executes that they have into Xayah. They're spacing out their cooldowns. We talk about this all the time when Xayah's in the game. You got to space out your cooldown because you cannot give Xayah ult too much value. So when we get the replay, we're going to see them space it out really well. JackeyLove waits to go to the back of the fight until after Gala goes airborne and has nothing left, and Gala wasn't even able to flash. I think the defense there from IG wasn't great. I would have looked for the empowered rune prison on the Kai'Sa and actually, try and pressure JackeyLove in the sums. Instead, they just keeper's verdict him right on out of there after they took down the marksman, which kind of allowed for Top Esports to take a free fight and a free Baron afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, sure, you hit out JackeyLove, but you've lost your AD carry too, and you just take a look at the gold difference. It's just far too vast.
Just watch the spacing on Gala. So Gala burns the cleanse, I think, a bit early, eating the W's a lot of damage. He goes airborne after he gets, knocked up with a Pantheon, but Pantheon, he was already being spaced. I think that Gala needs to hold that ult and be a little bit more disciplined. Obviously, he starts the fight in a pretty poor position, but I think very quickly in that fight, they got the critical summoner spells out of Gala. It allowed for Top Esports to have an easy execute afterwards and throw around their goal lead. That's a killer's instinct that gets a flash out of Gala, so another big tool out of the Xayah.
Yeah, this is just a really tough game for Gala to play because JackeyLove is so oppressively strong. Top Esports, they have point and click as well. You've stuff on the ground you got to watch out for with Hong and Creme, and it's just too much for Gala to be able to handle. He needs a second Xayah ultimate in order to be able to try to survive. Now, Top Esports knocking down tier 2s in the top lane, in the mid lane. The siege is on. They've got their boots on the throats of IG. And here comes a Ryze Realm Warp just for a little bit of a scare. The Pop Blossom coming through. Meiko gets onto JackeyLove. This is their opportunity to take him down. And it's Wei who cashes in. Now 369 tanking up quite a bit. Being slowed up, slammed against the wall. And he flashes away. That is the only kill that IG can claim.
That was a very bold fight by IG, but a very good one, as it was only Killer Instinct down that really spawned the fight in the JackeyLove. But what a great find from Meiko and Wei to make sure that JackeyLove stayed on that equalizer for a while. Actually did give IG a pretty positive fight, as they are trying to get out of the jungle. Wei is a little bit stuck there. This is awkward.
Here we go. Pantheon ult's going onto the backside, on to TheShy, who has nowhere to go. Meiko can't save him. Wei couldn't even connect with the team, and a positive play immediately goes negative.
I mean, Semi-Global is just answered here by Top. The redemption is used to try and kill the cannon minion to no avail by Meiko. Gonna be the tower falling. Likely the inhibitor too if Top Esports does want to stick around, but Gala, he loses his ultimate to the shockwave of Creme. So that's another decent takeaway. Baron's about to expire. I think that's going to be the end of the push here for Top. But, man, I mean, JackeyLove is sitting on a death cap right now. These Void Seekers are... they're starting to hit pretty hard. And IG, it doesn't seem like they can really compete against this Kai'Sa if JackeyLove has all of his conditions up. Now, they did remove some of his conditions after that last fight. So, very good from IG, but... I know we kind of tease Creme as being the big zoning tool. Obviously, JackeyLove is the one that's just pumping out a bajillion damage. So yeah, I think that you got to find ways to deal with both these, and it feels like IG just don't have an answer to both. They only have an answer to one right now.
JackeyLove has been so good all year. Split 1 Finals MVP, Split 3 MVP, First Team All-Pro in Split 2 and Split 3. That's 4 out of 9 awards, right? When you count Finals MVP, Split MVP, and All-Pros, right? That's a lot of hardware for one man to get. He has been so incredible. And a 3rd seed at Worlds, a guaranteed ride into Worlds, is something that I'm sure every LPL fan will be happy about, even if Top Esports is disappointed internationally at times. We see the walls closing in. Hung with a huge flash engage. There's the shockwave too, and they put the exclamation point on this game as IG has nowhere to run except for Rookie right into his base. That's primed to be taken down.
Gala, no flash, no ult. He's outside of base. Easy execute as Top put the finishing touches on a beautiful game. They played that Kai'Sa versus Xayah matchup just so well in this one. I was really, really impressed with how they executed it. Really no room for IG to fight in this one. And the only 2 plays they made, it was down gold, down numbers. It was respectable. But besides that, control from start to finish for Top.
Yeah, no doubt at all, Cubby. They left no quarter. This is a team that knows that they could have won that 1st seed, that knows they could have beaten BLG, and they know today that they should be the ones to take care of business.
They should. I mean, they should be the favorites given what we've seen out of these guys. And I think for Top, you know, you were talking about JackeyLove, the great year he's had. Not being able to complete those best of 5s against BLG, I mean, that one hurts. You're JackeyLove, you're a star of the league. You want to be able to net your team's finals. I think that one of the big things that we'll talk about when it comes to JackeyLove's career is just the fact that, you know, how many finals has this guy lost? Like, he has a negative win rate in finals. That's going to be, I think, a very big talking point when looking back at JackeyLove's career, the fact that he wasn't able to get it done. I think that, obviously, a win today, it's not an LPL championship, but, man, like, avoiding Faker at Worlds, that's a huge win. That's always a win in your book. So I think if JackeyLove and Top Esports able to at least, you know, put the finishing touches and go international today, I would forgive some of the sins we've seen from him and TES throughout the year, especially someone that I feel like was outperformed by Elk, if you look at those 10 games they had against BLG. So we'll see if JackeyLove can continue to step up. Beautifully played Kai'Sa versus Xayah matchup just across the board team-wise there from Top Esports. They played that one very well.
See if JackeyLove can help Top Esports right their international wrongs by getting a shot at Worlds. We're going to go ahead and send it over to the analyst desk to wrap up that first game.
Thank you very much to our All-American caster desk. I am here with a Brit and honorary Canadian, Bloxer and Alk, to break it down this first game on the desk. And it was a Top Esports dominated showing. They won this one very handily. Not your typical LPL gold graph. This one was very standard here, Bloxer.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of started out pretty slowly. TES, they get that early lead. JackeyLove gets a lot of it. And honestly, at the beginning of this game, a lot of it is just established through these CS leads. The only place that's kind of falling behind is top lane, but you're a Cassante into the Rumble. You're absolutely fine going down a little bit. And JackeyLove just began getting ahead and then just never looked back.
This just felt like more of the IG that we got in playoffs, and I want to take a little bit of a step back as we go through some highlights, talking about like the perspective. We're quote-unquote disappointed that Top Esports had a bad end of the playoffs, but aside from split 2, they win the first split, and then they get top 2. Like, out of any other team in any other region, you're saying, that's great. Getting top 2 is fantastic. But when you're Top Esports, and I think Cubby really hit it there at the very end, talking about, like, if this is potentially one of JackeyLove's last splits in the LPL, the win rate in finals is not looking good historically. And so it's going to suck to have not been able to take that trophy and not automatically have bid yourself going into the World Championship.
Especially because of all the regular season dominance that we've seen from this TES roster. First place in the regular season in Split 2, first place in the regular season in Split 3, and when it comes down to it, they only lost 2 Game 5s to the eventual champions, BLG, in both the upper finals and lower finals. But it's just the expectation that we have for this club that we have not been able to see from them in that first, since the first split lower bracket run that they went on. But we saw some really good performances here. And Blockster, to me, what really stood out in this game was it was not the full Kanavi show in the early game. Top Esports jumped out with 3,000 gold lead, and it was a large part due to the fact that their laners were playing exceptionally well.
Exactly. When we were seeing big leads coming up, specifically in Split 2, it was Kanavi the whole way through. He was an absolute monster in Split 2. There's a real reason he ended up winning that overall MVP, and that continued a lot through the regular season. We saw this time around, and even a bit into the playoffs. This was Creme stepping up and doing well for himself in his individual lane. As we said, 369, he wasn't massively far overhead, but never fell behind, and JackeyLove was super good in this one, and then it wasn't even Kanavi being leaned upon once we got into the skirmishes and team fights. Instead, it was Hung having a few really big pop blossoms, finding massive moments for his team, and it meant that Kanavi's just able to do his thing. He was still good in this game, but he didn't have to put the weight of the world on his shoulders.
Been, pretty good stuff from basically everybody on TES, and for IG, again, just big question marks all throughout. Obviously, they got that one big shutdown onto JackeyLove in the mid lane. I feel like they had some interesting finds here, but they just never really got off and running, and we'll talk about the draft and everything like that once we get a little bit deeper into this post-game segment here, Alk. But as we wait our player of the game, IG just really not looking up to
Jackie.
so far.
Just give me the JackeyLove MVP. What?
Oh.
All right.
Okay.
Disagree, but
he was
whatever.
fine. He was all right.
Yeah, he was all right. He got work done in the mid game. We were talking about it was a little bit of a slower start to this series, at least for Top Esports, but I think the biggest difference between Top Esports and BLG is that BLG are really dominant in the laning phase, and Top Esports tried to pigeonhole a lot of their gold leads into one specific player. So for IG, laning hasn't been their strength throughout the year. Wasn't expecting that to be the case. It was all about the mid game and the late game for them, but this game was more of the same of what we got in the most recent best of fives.
Still a lot to keep an eye out here for on Top Esports' side. But as we look forward to what IG can do going forward in the rest of the series, let's start things off here, Alk, by breaking down the draft of this Game 1, because now that we are in a true Fearless format, even the first game draft is going to have very heavy impact onto what we end up seeing for the remainder of this series. And we got some really big power picks taken off the board. I was a little bit surprised by the B1 Orianna, but not as surprised by what Top Esports were able to lock in next. The fact that they got Kais and Nico bot lane here on 2-3 was a very big win for them.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because there's a lot to break down here. Cubby had made a note about B1 Orianna. I think that'll be an important champion as the series goes on, taking away from Rookie. That first note there, red side bans. We've been seeing this across the board in the LPL and in the LCK. Yunara, Azir, Kiana. How that ends up breaking up is going to be really interesting, considering both of these teams really rely on Yunara and Azir in some of those other games that we saw from them throughout playoffs. And then things like the Poppy going away, like that's a really big champion for Wei and something that Top Esports have not at all been prioritizing since the end of Split 2. Pantheon and Nico on blue side I think is insane to have in a Game 1 here. So yeah. these champions no longer here in Fearless. Alistar and Kaisar are the last couple champions I would have noted. I'm kind of perplexed as to how we got to this answer for IG and what they're going to be looking like in Game 2, considering they're probably going to be moving over to blue side.
I think also it's worth noting what IG played and lost with, right? The Alistars looked really good. The fact that you lose here with Rookie on the rise, that's something that he's been really nice on throughout both the regular season and the playoffs. And then also the Rumble. Yeah, this is Rumble where it's had a little bit of a chunk taken out of it, right? It's not quite as good as it was previously, but it's still one of the highest priority champions in the entire game. And you just lose. You don't get anything going with any of these champions. This is a lot of the highest priority stuff gone. This is some of the best champions of the game gone. Can you make it work now with some of this just straight up off of the board?
It was interesting to hear during the draft of game number 1, Cubby was on the support pick for IG, thinking about, logical answers to the Nico, like a Karma, like a Rel, but going for the Alistar instead, one of Meiko's most played champions throughout the entirety of Split 3, where he's looked so good all year, all split long. So seeing them go for that choice and leaving some big, powerful picks unable to be selected for the remainder of the series is definitely something we're going to have to watch out for on IG's side. We have a couple of clips that we want to break down just to kind of fully demonstrate what's going on. But before we do that, we have just a screenshot of what the game state was looking like about 15 minutes into the game. This was pretty incredible to see, and it kind of goes back to our point blocks there of it was not all Kanavi in the early game. A lot of the other laners really stepped up, notably Creme and JackeyLove.
Yeah, this is taken just after the point at which Kanavi does get a little bit involved and helps out with getting a couple of kills over onto JackeyLove, but he'd been able to establish himself as CS lead without really the input of anybody else, kind of just in the individual 1v1. We saw the supports both moving away from the bot lane a little bit to get involved elsewhere, look if they could maybe get things going. Straight up in a 1v1, he was just able to get himself out to a 20-25, getting on to 30 CS lead. Then you get a couple of kills, and so at 15 minutes into the game, TES, they're in an incredibly comfortable position.
Just so much gold in JackeyLove's hands. Like we blinked and we looked at the gold diff, and it was already 1,000 in favor of the Kaisa, and he didn't even have a kill at that point. And obviously the snowball continued to roll. And it got to the point as we pull up our first clip, Alk, that the fights weren't really the best setups for top esports, but they just won them anyway because of the wallet diff.
I mean, this right here, like, we're really over chasing to get this one kill on a JackeyLove who still has ultimate, still has flash. And while we were talking about at that 15-minute mark the fact that they had these pretty decent gold leads for themselves from the laning phase, I think ultimately what we saw in this game was top esports had a lot of great tools for them to make plays. IG had losing lanes from the jump and then had to be able to fight back from disadvantaged map states. This is basically IG playing the game on hard mode a lot of the times. And I think also I will note, we talked about TheShy being a decent tank player throughout this year, but even on the Rumble this time around, obviously a flip and inversion of that kind of stereotype. I don't know what TheShy was doing in some of these plays. Like, he's too far up on the bottom lane wave, so he gets caught, so he has to lose his flash. He then dies here where he's going a little too far up on the bottom lane wave. Like, TheShy maybe thinking he has to squeeze a little bit more because the other side of the map isn't working, but it just means that the rest of all of top esports just get to take whatever they want.
It's a big win for them, and I feel like, you see initially JackeyLove get chunked out, forced back underneath the tower. We see like a kind of a whiffed ulti on Kanavi's side, and after you see some of those big cooldowns utilized, if you're top esports, for me, I was thinking like this is a bad idea, right? To go back in and try to continue the aggression against IG, but they just were able to mechanically play it a little bit better. They were able to give JackeyLove a bunch of kills, and somehow ends up working for them, and they really never looked back here, Blockster. We have one more clip to show of just the final fight here. I love Nico support, and this was just a vintage classic performance from Hong.
Yeah, I mean, Hong made one mistake, really, in this game, and everything else was gorgeous. This Pop Blossom lands onto 4 members.
That's tough.
And it's just the immediate go button Of course, at this point in the game, you're already down by about 8,000 gold, so it makes things a little bit easier, right? You can slap people around a little bit with your wallet, but he was a big part of why they were able to win, and I just love the fact that we're seeing everybody from TES step up in this situation. I do feel like this game did kind of show us why TES weren't able to beat BLG in their 2 best-of-5s. They were making some macro mistakes, they were overchasing in certain situations, but because their laners are not just better in this situation, like they ended up losing out to BLG for, they're able to fight it back. For IG, I think if they want to win this next one, they're going to have to fight back in the laning phase, because they aren't showing us that their team fights or their macro's good enough to scam back for any big deficit.
If I'm praying for an IG lane win, we might as well just pack up. I'll go get the clown makeup ready for tomorrow, guys.
You're gonna wear it again while you're on the cast tomorrow? Is that?
Nope.
Okay. I'm gonna keep asking, and if IG end up playing in that game on Saturday, I know you're on the desk again. We might have to get that work in here. We have a little bit of time, so I just want to focus back on, you know, our big discussion at the start of the series was the bot lanes, right? JackeyLove getting a chance to make it back to Worlds, right? And Gala, who's been playing some of the best League of Legends that he's played in a while. To me, the biggest reasons as to why that was happening were their supports, right? Meiko was a top 2 support in the league, as was Hong. And those were 2 names that we definitely were not thinking very highly of going into the start of split number 3. You know, when we were thinking about good supports, you know, players like Kyle immediately came to mind. I mean, for me, I would have thrown players like Jue and even Vampire in the support pool before a guy like Hong. And that he has definitely proved us wrong. I feel like, I know that JackeyLove got a lot of kills. Kanavi won the player of the game, but for me, off that performance, Hulk, I would have given that MVP to Hong on the Nico for just his.
That's
really
why we're
nice
here,
engagements.
and we're not over in China right now.
That's true. We don't have a vote. We don't have a vote.
That,
so it's just my.
That is also very,
spelling.
very valid. What I was gonna say is that Hong has definitely stepped up, right? Like, the one thing that I would have put against him, especially we saw exposed in the BLG series, both in winners finals and in the grand finals, his support pool is pretty limited. So now we have no Nico, which is a champion that he wasn't even allowed to play during that either best of 5 there. We have Alistar gone now. So what is the support matchup going to look like as we get further? I think teams so far have been incentivized to say, okay, if you're going for one support, are we actually willing to either make the trade or opt into an enchanter, which is something that I know that was noted during the cast when we were getting into draft. They were talking about Ezreal Karma. Now that pair is potentially broken up. Karma hasn't been picked yet, neither has Ezreal. I think both teams could potentially rely on this as something that gets them through and maybe gives them a engaged style champion like a Rel, a Leona, a Rakan if we go later in the series.
That's always a big conversation. I think the champion pools of both the supports were always something that we kind of had our eyes on going into this one. Obviously, the Alistar very important here for Meiko specifically. That's going to be off the board. Nico for Hong now off the board as well. Draft specifically, Bloxer, as we head into game number 2. IG most likely going to be taking a blue side here, getting that first pick. Is there anything that you hope that they do, either in terms of the composition that they select or even their playstyle going into an attempt to try to bounce back here against top esports?
You know, as I'm sure anybody could tell from Alk's face when I was like, let's get lane wins from IG, I'd love to see them just draft a bunch of winning lanes. I don't know that's super realistic for the way that IG play. I don't know that's a way that they can really try to play this one out. I'd like to see slightly more aggression up in the top lane, I think. Specifically, just try to get yourself some kind of lead for TheShy. We've seen how much he can pop off. The Aatrox is something that's been floating around. A lot of the top lane players have been loving it. It's something he's been really good on as well. I wouldn't mind seeing him on something like the Aurora or the Jace as well. These champions just keep popping up, and he does really well on them. I think if you can get yourself a little bit more of a win through the top lane, it just evens out in maybe you're not feeling like your bot lane's going to be able to pop off. And I don't think that's necessarily so much of an issue during the individual laning phase, right? We've seen a lot of really good performances from Gala on champions that scale a lot more, that are not so good in the early game. If you focus your early game top side and give some time bot lane for Gala to scale up on something like a Sivir, Yunara, something like that potentially, that could be a way into this game. Still, the way that the previous game went, I'm not super sure that that's going to be a massively realistic way of playing the game.
Yeah. Also, Sivir also got banned in the last one, so I'm just like,
what's
what's happening? Top Esports didn't
through?
even let themselves get Sivir in their grand finals versus BLG, which I thought was something that we had kind of looked forward to, but